Academic Task 1, task achievement is the area that IELTS candidates struggle with more than anything else. You need to be able to look at a graph and select the appropriate key features, and this skill has absolutely nothing to do with your language ability. The problem here is that without this skill, your task achievement score is going to be a band 5 or lower, and when that happens, it's almost impossible to get a high IELTS writing score. In this lesson, you'll discover what an overview should be, and I will teach you some easy mistakes you can avoid to stop yourself from getting a low task achievement score. My name is Lara Ryan. I've been an IELTS examiner, I've been an IELTS teacher at the British Council, I have over a decade of experience helping IELTS students, and I am the founder of Complete Test Success. So the first thing we need to do is make sure you understand what an overview really is. Before we look at an IELTS overview, I want to explain what an overview is outside the context of the IELTS test. Let's just say you've driven your car for 4 hours to visit a friend of yours, and when you get to your friend's house, they ask, "How was the drive?" Now, the answer your friend is expecting is an overview of what happened. What would your friend think if this was your answer? When I got to the end of the street, there was a red light, so I had to wait for that to turn green. After that, there was a blue car driving slowly in front of me for about 5 minutes, so that wasted more of my time. Once I got away from that car, there was a big traffic jam on Ryan Street, and I just crawled along slowly, never getting over 10 kilometers per hour for the next 30 minutes or so. I was near the edge of the city at that point, but... and so on and so on. I don't know about you, but if I got an answer like that, I'd be a bit confused about why this answer is so detailed. Now, compare that detailed answer to the overview that your friend was actually expecting. The traffic was pretty bad getting out of the city, but after that, it was fine. And that is all an overview is. It paints a general picture without going into specific details. When you're studying for IELTS Academic Task 1, the term overview is one that you will see a lot, and the other one is key feature. And a key feature is basically the smaller parts of an overview. So in this overview that we just looked at, the first key feature is this. The traffic was pretty bad getting out of the city. And the second key feature is, but after that, it was fine. So those are the basics of overviews and key features. So next we will look at how important these things are for your task achievement score. If you get a task achievement score of bands 1 to 3, you basically haven't even tried to answer the question. You'll get a band 1 for writing no words whatsoever, and bands 2 and 3 are a little bit better than that. If you haven't written any overview in your essay, you'll get a band 4 for task achievement. Now let's say that you've made a good attempt to write an overview, but you've made some mistake and there's something wrong with it. That would be a task achievement score of band 5. Now, when an overview scores band 5 in task achievement, typically it will be one of the key features is inaccurate, or there is specific information included in the overview. I'll show you examples of these things later. In a band 6 answer, this is the first time that we actually see an overview that is accurate. Now, there are a few reasons why you would get a task achievement score band 6 instead of a 7. And firstly, it would be that the overview is not descriptive enough. The other reasons are actually related to the details paragraphs, where potentially there is some irrelevant information included, or some of the data isn't accurate. So then, for bands 7, 8 and 9, the difference is not related to accuracy, it's related to how descriptive the answers are. The overview and the details paragraphs will be progressively more descriptive as the score increases. Now, when you're preparing for the IELTS test, knowing what you should do is half the battle, and then understanding what mistakes you're making is the other half. In the video description below, you'll find a link to join my free live feedback lessons, so that I can help you with that side of things as well. Next, we're going to look more closely at some academic IELTS Task 1 writing. In the IELTS test, your essay will have to describe a graph, a map, or a process, and 75% of the time the question will be a graph. So we are going to look at one of those right now. So this is a typical Task 1 question, and for the rest of the lesson, we will look at examples of bands 4 to 9 for task achievement. First, let me quickly show you what the essay structure for a Task 1 answer should be. In the first paragraph, you'll paraphrase the question and write your overview. Then in the second and third paragraphs, you describe your key features in detail. For me to show you bands 4 to 9 for task achievement, we will only need to look at the overview and some sentences from a details paragraph. So here we will look at a candidate's attempt at writing an overview. Overall, the group aged 20 to 64 has the highest percentage in all three charts, as it increased from 51% to 54% from 1950 to 2000 and is expected to continue this trend to reach 57% in 2050. All overviews need to start with the word overall, but after that first word, this paragraph is nothing like an overview as it's too descriptive. This type of description would be fine for a details paragraph, but it's not suitable here when it's representing an overview. The IELTS examiner would determine that this is not an overview and the task achievement score would be a band 4. Here is another attempt to write an overview. Overall, the total population increases from one graph to the next, as do the percentages for each age group. As you can see, they've actually done a much better job here than the person who scored band 4. However, there is one big issue because it is not accurate. We can see in the graph that the age group 0 to 19 went from 44 down to 39% and is predicted to fall even further to 27% in the future. As this overview states that the percentages for each age group increased, the task achievement score cannot be higher than 5. And here's another attempt that also scored band 5 for task achievement. Overall, the total population increases from one graph to the next, as do the percentages for the age groups 20 to 64 and 65 plus. In contrast, the figure for the age group 0 to 19 decreased between 1950 and 2000 and is expected to drop to 27% in 2050. This time, the description is accurate, but there's a different problem. This overview includes specific data. What I'm referring to here is where it says to 27%. There should be no specific data in an overview like this. Doing this will restrict the task achievement score to a band 5 as well. And here is an overview that would score band 6. Overall, the total population increases from one graph to the next, as do the percentages for the age groups 20 to 64 and 65 plus, whereas the figure for 0 to 19-year-olds decreases. To get a band 7, this overview would need to be a little bit more descriptive, but there is actually another reason why this text wouldn't get higher than a band 6 for task achievement. For this, we need to look at a mistake made in the details paragraph. In all three charts, the group aged 20 to 64 has the highest percentage as it increased impressively from 51%, which is 1% higher than exactly a half, to 54% from 1950 to 2000 and is expected to continue this trend to reach 57% in 2050. The mistake made here is that the candidate has included irrelevant information. The first instance of this is the word impressively. This word shows the writer's feelings towards the data, and this doesn't belong in a Task 1 essay. The graph has to be reported objectively with no opinion or emotion included in the answer. The second place we find irrelevant information in this text is the description of what 51% is. This is completely unnecessary, as the reader will already know what a half is. Including anything irrelevant like either of these things will cap your task achievement score at a band 6. Now we will look at one more attempt that would also score a band 6 for task achievement. The overview is actually the same as the one we just looked at, but this one has a different issue in the details paragraph. In all three charts, the group aged 20 to 64 has the highest percentage as it increased from 51% to 56% from 1950 to 2000 and is expected to continue this trend to reach 57% in 2050. The issue this time is that there is inaccurate data in the details paragraph. The text says 56%, but on the chart we can see that the correct figure is actually 54%. Now that might seem like a very small mistake, but it can have a very big impact on your task achievement score. This is why it is incredibly important that you double check every single figure in your Task 1 answer. And here's an answer that would score band 7. Overall, the total population increases from one graph to the next, as do the percentages for the age groups 20 to 64 and 65 plus. In contrast, the figure for the age group 0 to 19 decreased between 1950 and 2000 and is expected to drop further in 2050. Now you can see that this Band 7 overview is more descriptive than the one we looked at for the Band 6 score, but also a score of Band 7 will mean that those problems that we saw in the details paragraph will not exist in this particular answer. And for Band 8 and Band 9, the overview and the details paragraphs will be increasingly more descriptive. You'll see what I mean by looking at the next two overviews. This one is Band 8. Overall, the figures for total population, the age group 20 to 64 and the over 65s all increased from 1950 to 2000 and are predicted to grow further by 2050. In contrast, the figure for the age group 0 to 19 decreased between 1950 and 2000 and is expected to continue this trend into the future. And here is an overview for Band 9. Overall, the figures for the total population increased from 1950 to 2000 and are expected to continue this trend until 2050. The percentages for the age group 20 to 64 and the over 65s also grew from 1950 to 2000 and are similarly predicted to grow further by 2050. In contrast, the percentage of the age group 0 to 19 decreased between 1950 and 2000 and is forecast to decline further. So now you understand how to get a high task achievement score. I have more academic Task 1 lessons coming up, so make sure to click subscribe and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the important information in those lessons. And finally, I'd like you to leave a comment and let me know what score do you need in the IELTS writing test.